So picture this. It's October 1st, 1971. You're stepping out of your car, more like a tram, and you can feel that classic Florida heat, but there's something electric in the air. You've just driven through miles of swampland and orange groves, and now you're here standing at the gates of this brand new park called the Magic Kingdom. But it's more than just a theme park, right? It's a piece of this wild dream that started as, well, just a crazy idea to turn some soggy Florida land into something magical. Today on Old Florida Now, we're going to dive deep, like really deep, into how this swampland in Central Florida became the home of one of the most iconic places on the planet, Walt Disney World. We're talking everything from the land deal, how it all came together, to the grand opening day, October 1st, 1971, exactly 53 years ago today. Today.
Welcome to Old Florida Now, where we uncover the rich history and hidden stories of the Sunshine State. Each episode will explore the people, places, and events that shaped Florida's past. Let's dive in.
All right, so let's rewind a bit. Way before the gates of Magic Kingdom opened on October 1st, 1971, this whole thing was really just a dream in Walt Disney's mind. I mean, Disneyland was already a massive hit on the West Coast, right? But here's the thing. Only about 2% of visitors to Disneyland were from east of the Mississippi. And Walt, being Walt, saw a huge opportunity there. He's thinking, hey, the East Coast is totally untapped. And let's be honest, not everyone is going to hop on a plane to California just to go to a theme park. So Walt starts looking for a spot on the East Coast, but it couldn't be just any spot. He wanted something big, like way bigger than Disneyland. We're talking huge, enough room to not only build a theme park, but to create an entire world. Now, here's where it gets interesting. He settles on Central Florida, but at the time, this place was basically just swamps and cow pastures, like nothing there but land no one really wanted. But that's what made it perfect for Walt, because he could buy it cheap, real cheap. But of course, he had to be sneaky about it. Imagine if people found out Disney was interested, the land prices would have skyrocketed. So he and his team created all these fake companies to buy the land in secret. They were buying up thousands of acres of swamp, and no one knew what was going on. Locals must have been like, who the heck is buying all this land? And then, bam, word got out. It's Disney. And people were shocked. Like, Disney's going to build what out here in the middle of the swamp? You can just imagine how this kicked off a ton of speculation around the area. But as always, Walt was a few steps ahead of everyone else. He didn't just see swampy land. Oh, he saw potential. And that vision, well, it was about to change Florida forever. So let's talk about why Walt Disney chose Central Florida of all places. I mean, if you were looking around in the 1960s, Orlando was pretty much just known for its orange groves and cattle ranches, right? Definitely not the bustling tourist hub it is today. But there were a couple of things that made it perfect for Walt's big vision. First off, the new interstate system was a game changer. It made the whole area super accessible for tourists. Think about it. You could drive down from the East Coast or Midwest, and you're in the middle of Florida. And with the weather being nice year-round, it had that vacation vibe Walt was looking for. He wasn't just building a theme park. He was building a destination. And, well, Central Florida checked a lot of those boxes. Okay, so you've got all this swampy land, and here's where the real work began. Turning swampland into what would become the Magic Kingdom. Not easy. I mean, we're talking serious environmental challenges. It wasn't like you could just slap some concrete down and call it a day. The construction crews had to figure out how to drain the wetlands and make the land stable enough for these massive buildings and attractions. While they're at it, they also had to balance preserving the environment. They couldn't just wipe out all the wetlands. There was this careful dance between building and conservation. It was kind of groundbreaking for the time. But here's the part that gets me. In 1966, before the park could really take shape, Walt Disney passed away. It was a huge blow to the company, to his vision. Suddenly, this massive project was without the man who dreamed it up. And, most people would have probably just paused everything or even scrapped it all together, but not Roy Disney. Walt's older brother stepped in, postponed his own retirement, and made it his mission to finish what Walt started. And Roy, he wasn't just running the show. He insisted that the resort be called Walt Disney World. It wasn't just a park anymore. It was a tribute to his brother's dream. Without Roy, we wouldn't have what we do today. And it's kind of wild, right? How all these challenges, the location, the environment, and even losing Walt could have been roadblocks. But instead, they're part of what made Walt Disney World what it is. Roy carried on his brother's dream, and in 1971, that dream became a reality. All right, let's talk about the big day. October 1st, 1971, the day Magic Kingdom officially opened its gates for the very first time. Now, here's the fun part. Unlike what you might imagine, it wasn't this huge, packed to the brim event. Nah, it was actually pretty chill. About 10,000 visitors came through the gates that day. Not bad, but, not the massive crowd you might expect from a Disney opening, right? And get this, the ticket price to get in, just $3.50. I know, sounds like a steal today, but back then, that was still a decent chunk of change. But here's the kicker. That didn't include the rides. You actually had to buy separate tickets for the attractions, kind of like going to a carnival. So if you wanted to hit up all the big rides, you had to shell out for those ticket books. Now, even though October 1st was the official opening, Disney went all out later that month with a grand celebration from October 23rd to the 25th. And of course, Disney being Disney, they brought in the big names for it. Celebrities like Bob Hope, Julie Andrews, Rock Hudson, they were all there. I mean, can you imagine you're strolling down Main Street and there's Bob Hope cracking jokes somewhere in the park? Talk about a star-studded opening. And let's not forget the rides. Some of those original attractions, absolute classics. You had the Haunted Mansion, which is still one of my personal favorites. It's a Small World, which, let's be honest, has that song that sticks with you forever. And then there was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. This one was such a cool concept and underwater adventure that really wowed people. Most of these rides were inspired by Disneyland, but they still had that unique Florida twist to them. It's kind of wild to think back to those first days, huh? Just 10,000 people walking through the gates, ticket books in hand, getting to experience the start of something that's since grown into this giant world-famous resort. But back then, it was just the beginning. And man, what a magical beginning it was. So here's the thing about Walt Disney World. It didn't just change the theme park game. It totally transformed Central Florida. Before Disney came along, Orlando was just this quiet little town, mostly known for orange groves, cattle, and not much else. But then Disney opens up and bam, the whole area suddenly turns into this massive tourist hotspot. And we're talking global attention. People were coming from everywhere to see this new magical world. It wasn't just a park. It was a full-on destination. And with that, jobs started booming. I mean, think about it. This place needed thousands of employees. So you've got people working in the parks, the hotels, the restaurants, transportation, everything. And that's just the beginning. Over time, as Disney kept expanding, Orlando's economy absolutely thrived. Tourism exploded, and with it came more hotels, restaurants, attractions, you name it. Central Florida went from a sleepy little town to one of the most visited places in the world. Speaking of hotels, let's talk about those first ones that opened along with the Magic Kingdom, the Contemporary Resort, and the Polynesian Village Resort. These weren't your average hotels. They were a whole experience. The Contemporary was futuristic with that iconic A-frame structure and a monorail literally running through the middle of the building. It was like something straight out of Tomorrowland. And then on the flip side, you had the Polynesian, which was this tropical paradise with tiki torches, palm trees, and everything you'd imagine a Hawaiian escape to be. I mean, Walt Disney World wasn't just giving you a place to sleep. It was like they were transporting you to another world, even when you left the park. So yeah, Walt Disney World didn't just put Orlando on the map. It practically built the map for modern day Central Florida. in those first hotels, they set the tone for what Disney was going to be all about, transporting you somewhere magical, even when you're not riding Space Mountain. All right, so let's dive into some fun little tidbits about Disney World that'll make you go, wait, really? First up, ticket prices. So back when Magic Kingdom opened in 1971, a ticket cost you just $3.50. I know, sounds like pocket change today, right? But here's the catch. That didn't even include rides. You had to buy ticket books for those, kind of like going to the fair. And, if you wanted to hit all the big attractions, you had to cough up for more tickets. Fast forward to today. And wow, things have changed. A single day ticket to Magic Kingdom now, you're looking at upwards of $100, sometimes more, depending on the time of year. And that's not even counting all the food and Mickey ears you're going to want while you're there. Talk about inflation, huh? Now let's talk about one of those hidden Disney details that only the Imagineers could dream up. Before Disney even bought the land, Walt was flying over Central Florida, looking at all the wetlands, and he pointed out this little spot and said, that's where Tom Sawyer's Island is going to be. I mean, this guy was already planning specific attractions for a place that didn't even exist yet. That's the kind of vision Walt had. He saw beyond the swamps and could already picture the magic that was coming. Honestly, it's these little stories that really show just how much heart went into creating Walt Disney World. There's so much more to it than just rides and characters. It's got layers of history and love built right into the foundation. So here we are, looking back at what started as a wild dream in the middle of Florida swampland and has grown into something much bigger than I think even Walt Disney could have imagined. I mean, what began with just the Magic Kingdom in 1971 has now transformed into a 25,000-acre resort. We're talking 4 major theme parks, 2 water parks, 27 resort hotels, shopping districts, golf courses. The list goes on. And every year, millions of people from around the world come to experience the magic. It's incredible when you really think about it. But it's more than just the sheer size, right? It's the legacy of Walt Disney World that's really something special. It's not just a theme park. It's a place where people go to relive memories, make new one, and whether you're a kid or an adult, tap into that sense of wonder and possibility. And that, I think, is what keeps it going year after year. It's not just about the attractions. It's about the feeling people get when they walk down Main Street or catch their first glimpse of Cinderella Castle. That's the magic of Walt Disney World, and it's still going strong over 50 years later. All right, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane as we celebrated the anniversary of Walt Disney World's opening. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes of Old Florida Now. And hey, if you've got your own Disney memories or stories, shoot them over. I'd love to hear about them. Until next time, keep exploring and keep finding the magic in the history of this wild, weird state we call home.
Thanks for listening to Old Florida Now. Stay tuned for more stories from the Sunshine State's past. Until next time.